Hello and welcome back to what is the last Football Heritage podcast episode of 2024. I'm your host, Rory Bryce, and I'm joined this evening by half of our contributors. First of all, joined by Chris Kelly.
Hiya, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. It's good to have you back on the show. Also joined by Christian Thurston.
Hi, Rory. Nice to be back.
Good to see you again, mate. Also joining us is Dave Proudlove.
Good evening, chaps. Good to be here, as usual.
Good to have you on as well, mate. And we're also joined by Matty Woodcock, making his Football Heritage podcast debut. Matty, good to have you here.
Hi, everyone. Cheers for having me on, Rory. Yeah, no, I'm very excited to have my debut today.
Best time for it as well, mate. And today we are literally just going to be giving our listeners our 2024 season review. We're going to be going over all of the things our clubs have been up to across the season. I know for all of us except Christian, we're halfway through our seasons, so we're going to be going through everything that's happened within that, our favourite moments from this season. Obviously we had a Euros in the middle of that as well, and what our plans are for 2025 and what we're most looking forward to. So just to kick things off, guys, how are you?
Not too bad. Looking forward to Christmas, having a bit of time off.
Running out of steam, I think, is the honest answer.
Ran out of steam about 2 months ago, I think.
Yeah, I think that's been pretty much the order of the day for everyone. Everyone's looking forward to hibernating over the next 2 weeks once they get their Christmas feed and things. It's been a really long year, and I feel like it's been a pretty long football year as well. Of course, as I just said, we did have a Euros in the middle of that, and that's probably just made it feel even longer.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll go into it, but before disclosing about my own club, it's been quite the year.
That's very true.
It doesn't feel like the Euros was even this year, to be honest, looking back. Feels like it could have been a couple of years ago.
We weren't even qualified, so I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, I suppose. Of course, Norway didn't make it. Again. And, well, I mean, you never know. There's World Cup qualifiers coming up, so there's always a chance, obviously. Yeah, I mean, we'll get on to it, but Scotland were pathetic, as was kind of expected. But we'll just start things off, and we'll start with yourself, Christian, because obviously you said that you have to, you might have to jump off a bit earlier. Christian, as a Moss FK supporter, you might have seen us posting about them on our socials. He's kind of a match day photographer, and he's one of the board members of the fan group as well, and he does some absolutely cracking work. However, Moss's season basically ran from about pre-season in February and just finished last week, so it's been a very long year for Christian, and off-air, as he said beforehand, he is mentally fucked, and I think we can say that's fair enough for the amount of work that he's put in. But Christian, obviously Moss, at the beginning of the year you said you didn't expect them to make the playoffs, so just sum up how your 2024 season has been, first of all.
Right. Let me just start with a small correction. Our season started 5th of January and ended 8th of December.
Fucking hell.
So, yeah, it's been long. Yeah. So, it's something with when you put in all these hours that I sort of do as a fan and also through the fan foundation. Damn, you get knackered when it's over. You're absolutely empty. I didn't have much hope starting on this season. We did, however, a decent, a few friendlies and all that. But we started with basically selling our top goal scorer. Mm. And what you have to have in mind here is that my dear Moss came up from level 3 on the smallest budget, and we survived in the league last year on the last game. So it was a bit of a tight one. It was an amazing game we did against Kongsvinger away, and it was fucking freezing. It was minus 15, and I'm not kidding. They had bonfires in the stadium for people to heat themselves on. It was an awful away day, but we secured a spot, and to be honest, that was the thing. And when you go into a season like now, we have a saying in Norway, the difficult second season, because you can get 1 year for free with the enthusiasm you have in the club, and just that go in the players. I thought, like, God, if we can do a mid-table, I'll be so happy, because you know that some of these guys, they probably won't be in the club next year, because they played a few years, they've done decent go, and again, we are I think we're the second smallest budget this year. The average salary to play in Moss FK, level 2 in Norway, has been about £1,400 a month.
Wow.
Okay, some over, some under, but that's the thing. You really want to do this project if you want to go be a part of this. It's like we say to the players, you won't get rich, but you'll get lots of love, but sadly that can't pay your bills.
Exactly.
So we went into a season and we had a bloody good start, to be honest, and this was sort of a year in the Obosligan where they call Obosligan the league that everyone can beat everyone. It's completely madness from the time. And we just went for it, and god damn, we didn't lose much games. And as expected, Vålerenga Oslo, which got relegated, and it's a massive, massive club. Just how they managed to get relegated is insane by its own. They were a few notch over everyone else, but we were goddamn, we were close to do the direct promotion spot. But the other team, Bryne, they in the summer season they just said, "Look, we're going to buy 2 players and go for it." They had the money to do that, while we basically got 2 youngsters from level 4 in, and that was sort of our summer signings. But so, to be a bit sober about it, I'm bloody proud that we managed to actually keep the steam up and get that promotion. And how the promotion system is a bit complicated, because level 2, number 1, number 2 goes straight up, and then you have number 6 that plays number 5, and the winner of that game plays number 4, and the winner of that game plays number 3, and my Moss became number 3. So
that's most fair way to do it.
Yeah, but you suddenly have 3 weeks of a break, and that's I'm not sure always how smart that was, because I was a bit on the training, and it's a bit like this summer. They had 3 weeks breaks also, and they had a friendly against Lyn, and they got totally pissed on the first 45. It was like this team is not going up. You can if we secure our spot, this is more good enough. But football is insane, and when you come back from the back and have the flow, last game of the year we beat Lyn in Ekeberg, and damn, we get a promotion game. You can't believe it, really. But ironically, it ended up with a game against Kongsvinger, the team we had to beat last year to secure the spot in the league. And fucking hell, lads, we did it. That game was so insane. There's some video of me out there. Shall we just say my knees hurt a bit still, and it's a few weeks ago. God damn it, that was insane. And there's some... I ended up in the pitch also celebrating a goal, and I managed to take a photo of it, but I can't remember it. It was just such a strong emotional experience, the whole thing. But I have to say, I think every sort of generation of fans have 1 or 2 games that sort of gets epic to them. I hope and I think this will be our new generation that's coming up now's epic game, because I've been a fan since I was 10 years old, and I never heard so much noise in that stadium as the last 10 minutes. It gives me the shiver just to think of it. That was insane. But, suddenly it's like one of the younger said, damn, we're two games away from the top flight. No one believed this. I mean, if you put money on this before the season, you would get a brand new car. So it's a achievement in itself. But the team we were facing is FK Haugesund, and they had been on a proper downward spiral. They had to get in, they didn't sack the coach actually, but they had got in some new people, tried something new, and they managed to score again. I think they had 5 or 6 games without scoring, and then you're in a bad spiral.
Wow.
But of course they started to score just before the qualifying. But first game in Moss ended 0-0. They obviously did not like the pitch, but great, if you ask me. It could be much, much worse. So we went to Haugesund. We were sponsored by the club, actually, with 2 coaches. I went the day before on the plane, and I think we were 30 odd fans on the plane also. So all over, we were about somewhere between 150 to 200 away, and Haugesund is 8 hours drive one way. So it's pretty decent for 8th of December.
I know our listeners can't see it, but literally everyone just raised their eyebrows there. So I think
that's Norway for you. It's not the place for everyone. But it's a rough away game. It really, really is, and it became rough. Sadly, we got trashed in the first half. Score a comic own goal, and the same player does a mark mistake, and they get 2-0 to half time. The coach says, "Fuck it, let's try." Does 3 changes, and the second half we actually win every statistic, and we have 1 in the crossbar. But it's like football. It's like they said on the TV when I watched the game behind. In expected goals, it's 0.87 to Haugesund and 1.25 to Moss, and Haugesund won the game 2-0. So that was sort of it. I didn't have a hope, really, to be honest, but it will be such an insane bonus if it would have worked out. But, how can you not be proud of it? And it's just such an odd way how we've been here, because the team was in the top flight for many, many years and won the league in the 80s and did decent in the 90s. And then after the millennium, we just fell down the ranks. And we actually went into amateur football and then had to go back up again. So you could say in many ways this is a bit too early for the club, because we're not ready. We're not ready for it at all. But, if you're there, just go for it. And we tried, but 2 goals away, eh?
2 goals away. And that's the thing, because even though it ended in disappointment, it must have been one of the best seasons that you've had following the club as well, because I know you were sharing all the photos, all of the updates and stuff like that, and we were obviously watching as much as we could, because it's very difficult to find streaming websites and data for clubs in the second divisions in Norway over here. But you must have had such a great time following the club this season.
I guess it's the biggest moment of the year when we played Vålerenga in Oslo, and they have a huge stadium it's called Intility Stadium, and we were there with Moss a few years ago playing against Vålerenga too, because second teams are part of the division system here, and we lost. They basically put on their boys 17 because they had secured their position, and we lost against them in that stadium, and I had a mental breakdown, and I just started shouting and being not a nice nice person, really. But suddenly, a few years later, we managed to sell 1,099 away tickets on their stadium, and we absolutely packed the place out. And I started crying. We lost and got pissed on in the game, but when I took the underground back to town, I was like, damn, all the years with hard work and trying and building, so there's a fan culture, so you can get scarves, so you can get stickers, so you can get presents with the club logo and everything, for kids, and just trying to build this thing up. And we're 1,100 fans in there. It was insane. Just that feeling that you actually managed to achieve that after so many years in the darkness. I'll never forget that, actually.
Yeah, no, I don't think you will. And it's being able to see the tangibles of the work that you're doing and the things that you've built. Do you know what I mean? And that must have been really special, both off and on the field. Obviously, being so involved with the fan foundation as well, it must have been absolutely incredible for you. So, ultimately bittersweet, but what a season following them, and you getting to see all those things would have been fantastic as well. Chris, move on to yourself. How has 2024 been for you in terms of football?
Mixed. Town stayed up on the penultimate weekend last season. Avoided going to non-league for the third time. It's been a horrible 20 odd years. In the main, we've had some. We've had the odd promotion, and we reached the FA Cup quarterfinals a couple of years ago. We're all right under the new owners now. It's been a rubbish 20 years in general. This year we're doing okay. We're just on the edge of the playoffs there. We're not. Whenever we play any of the top 3 or 4 sides, we look a level below them. We kind of look like the best of the rest. I don't quite think we're ready for the playoffs or anything just yet. But from relegation scramblers, last season we had to sort of adopt a turgid, shall we say, attritional style of play. And it kept us up, but it wasn't free to watch. It wasn't enjoyable. This year we're really trying to play. And sometimes it looks, we can carve teams apart, and other times it's looking a bit messy. But that's fine, because that's kind of where we're at with the process at the minute. So yeah, it's been a bit mixed. It's ending better than it started, shall we say. But yeah, like I say, if we can finish maybe in the top half this season, I'd see a significant progress really, with the idea to sort of push on next season.
Well, that's good. So obviously that's for Grimsby Town. What about Grimsby Borough, which is the non-league club that you follow? Now, I'm the English football system's a bit over my head. So what step is it they sit at?
Step 4 of non-league. So, basically,
8.
3 leagues below the National League.
Got you. Okay.
Again, Borough are one of the smallest clubs in the league in terms of budget and size, and they're competing by comparison with some really much bigger clubs, really. But what they have got is they've got a good group of lads that the squad doesn't change hugely, if you get what I mean. It's the same group of lads, all local lads, a lot of them, who have maybe been released by Town as youngsters who haven't quite made it. But they're a tight-knit group, and they're constantly punching above their weight. I think we're about 10th at the minute in what is a really strong Northern sort of Counties East League there. Again, I'm not quite sure they'll get to in the playoffs there, but it's not out of the question. But they're definitely sort of progressing. I mean, they've been promoted, I think, 2 or 3 times in the last few years, but they've gone up the levels really quick. So a bit of consolidation and maybe a top half finish for them. Again, it'd be more progress really.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's quite positive though. So it definitely sounds like it's been a bit more of a mixed bag, but obviously I know following Grimsby Town last year was pretty fucking miserable by the sounds of things.
I think I'm right in saying we won 11 games last season in total in the league. I mean, we've won 10 already this season, and we've played 20. We've only drawn 1. We're not big on draws. We'll either wipe the floor with somebody, or they wipe the floor with us. We're in the playoffs with a minus goal difference, which kind of sums up, and the last 3 games kind of sums us up where we thumped Accrington 5-2, won away at Morgan 3-0, and then barely had a shot against Crewe and got beat comfortably at the weekend. So that kind of sums us up really. But that's fine, because you can see the progress, and you can see that it's not always going to work at the minute, and it might take a year or 2 to get to where the Crews and the Walsalls are. They're a little bit ahead of us. That's fine. You can see the progress is there, so it'll come.
It'll come. That's all that matters. Well, hopefully next year will be a little bit better for football in Grimsby just as a whole, and it sounds like there's something there to build on. We'll move on to Matty next. Reading FC. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, to be honest, mate. Yeah, I mean, 2024 We're not even going to go into the start of last season. We may as well just stick with 2024, so we don't spend all day talking about it. But I mean, we started off this year with a pitch invasion / protest. They got a game cancelled against Port Vale, and that's kind of started off the chain of events, I guess, in a lot of ways.
Port Vale in future. Never mind a game. Cancel them. Cancel them.
It had to be them, didn't it, Dave? Yeah, Port Vale. So, I mean, they were great, Port Vale. They supported the protests completely, which is really positive. And I think they actually kind of helped us get away with not getting a points deduction, which I think we started off 2024 in the relegation zone. So it was looking pretty bleak. Fans had enough. There's a lot of good work from Sell Before We Die. I know they've been on the podcast before. So we've had some really good, really good work from fans, and I think, to be honest, that's the best thing that's come out of this year. Has been the fans have really got together. There's a lot of passion shown, a lot of togetherness, a lot of just kind of support that I haven't actually seen across my 26 years supporting the club. You know, some of the games I've been to this year have actually been some of the best supported in my life. I went to Stockport away on a Tuesday night, and I think there was about 800 of us there. And I know it's not great for what has been a Premier League team, but I've been supporting them, and they've been in the Premier League and the Championship, and we wouldn't get that number. And that was bloody Stockport as well. So a lot of fans making the drive. So it's been a bit of a weird year. We've had a mix of events, some positive, some negative. We had in March, I think it was announced that our training ground was about to be sold to Wycombe Wanderers, who aren't really a local rival. We don't consider them such, but no. I think they like to think that they're the noisy neighbours. So, I mean, the rivalry is now here because of those events. So the then owner Rob Cohig was looking to buy the training ground at a discount price, courtesy of our still owner Dai Yong. Which obviously, I mean, most fans at that point were thinking that was the end. Take so much pride in our training facilities and our youth team as well. So that really was, I mean, there didn't need to be a last straw in terms of the work that Dai's done to destroy the club, but that was really quite a moment that shocked a lot of fans. Luckily, that was overturned, and then kind of got into summertime, and it was then announced that same owner, Rob Cohig, was looking to buy the club, and it got very close. He was very close to buying the club, actually, and everyone was super, super hopeful for that. You know, he changed his profile picture on Twitter to him with a nice big picture of the Reading badge in the background, and all the fans were getting excited, and we had good football under Ruben Sellers. You know, everything was we were all getting ready for the new season, getting super excited. Had loads of young players that have come through, and, you know, it was looking like Reading FC were on the way back. And then obviously, talks with Rob broke down, and turns out there's more debt that Dai hadn't announced. And we kind of fell back into that hole a little bit. But to be honest, the performances have been great. Under Sellers, we were really looking like a good team. We've been in the playoffs for most of the season, actually, which has been an absolute miracle, bearing in mind we've only been able to sign one player, which is a loanee from Wolves, who is a bit crap. And the rest has just been a really young team of local lads and kind of free agents, and, you know, playing some excellent football. And we're now at a point where Sellers has left for greener pastures in...
I wouldn't go that far. It's Hull. Do you know what I mean? Like,
East Yorkshire. Yeah, maybe not. As our manager, Ruben Sellers, has left for Hull, and to be honest, he's probably my favourite manager we've had since... I have to go back to Steve Coppell, or maybe Brian McDermott's first reign when he got us up into the Premier League with a strike force of Jason Roberts, you know, 40-year-old Jason Roberts. So it was looking good, and unfortunately, Sellers, you know, he's done us proud, but he did move on, and I can't blame him, to be honest. He was taking months without getting paid, and, you know, every week he was probably refreshing BBC Sport to see if there had been any news about the bloody takeover. So I don't blame him for going, but we're now got Noel Hunt at the wheel, and drew 1-1 against Wickham, which was nice. Going back to that rivalry we've kind of created with them in the last year or so, and then recently been absolutely battered by Blackpool at home, which was not a nice feeling. So yeah, we're hoping that the work that Sellers has done at the start of the season can prevent us from getting too close to the bottom. But to be honest, if we survive, I'm happy.
Yeah, it's mental that Dai Young is still in charge at the club, do you know what I mean, and still owns them. But I mean, listen, bright side, Dave Kitson, I think, is coaching in like the Marshall Islands or somewhere, so maybe that's the start of his coaching career to come back. Yeah,
I hope he stays there.
Oh my God.
I'll need to fact check that, but I'm fairly certain I've seen something about Dave Kitson coaching in one of the Pacific Island nations. Sure of it anyway. So listen, mate, you never know, it could be your next manager in waiting.
I was going to say, it seems like all the former players are going to train themselves up and give it a go. I mean, I can't say Noel Hunt's got much credibility, but he's done all right with under-21s. But yeah, Dave Kitson might be next then if it's... I mean, Marshall Islands, that's... Hopefully we're a little bit above that level, but I guess he's got to start somewhere. But yeah, it's been a bit of a year. But you know what? I'm super proud of the club just kind of still existing, and all the fans have been amazing, and you know, it's been a very different experience to support the club. We no longer worry about winning games, we're just worrying about there being a game. So, you know, never been proud to support the team, but also I don't really look at the scores anymore because all the news, because there isn't much point. It's not gonna give me any favours. But yeah, it's been a bit of a year, but I think you know, hopefully it can only get better. But I think I said that last year. So
yeah, onwards is the word. I think whenever a year like that happens, it's fair enough. I mean, when you're literally wondering if your club is gonna survive to the next week, then it's a huge testament to the support who all rallied around the club and managed to save it. But he will always say this, and I don't think we can largely disagree with him because it does sound really shit. You can never have as bad a year as you do supporting Stoke. Dave, what's it been like supporting the club this last year?
Oh, God. Where do we start, really? I mean, basically, Stoke have just gone back to being Stoke.
Were they ever not Stoke?
Yeah, I mean, Stoke, in my lifetime, Stoke have tended to be mainly shit, with the odd spell of being less shit. The main spell of not being shit was obviously the 8 of the 10 seasons in the Premier League in recent times. The last 2 seasons in the Premier League were absolutely bloody awful, and I think a lot of supporters are actually relieved to get relegated. But we have been truly dreadful since leaving the Premier League, and I think you can basically somehow we've been up. Basically, the last 12 months sum up Stoke City since leaving the Premier League. So we get rid of Alex Neil, who was a shocking appointment. I don't think anybody was expecting him to be anything other than a shocking appointment. And from that perspective, he didn't disappoint. And we bring in Schumacher. Another, we experimented with a bright young thing in Nathan Jones, who was a lunatic, but we bring in Schumacher, who's a bright young thing but not a lunatic. Started off all right. The football under Alex Neil is some of the worst football I've ever seen played at Stoke, and Schumacher changed that very quickly. The problem with Schumacher initially was, we weren't winning many games. We were playing all right, but we were drawing a lot. And it was like what we were short of was goals. And it was like, if we could correct that, we might be all right. But then, sort of after Christmas, we went into a sort of nosedive, and they brought in Jonathan Walters as technical director. And everybody thought, well, Johnny Walters, it's all going to be okay now. Super Johnny's back. And he did the usual, the rallying cry. Let's show some passion and get behind the club. Absolute hot air. But we finished last season with 3 straight wins without conceding a goal.
Pretty good.
And it looked okay. And that's a good end to the season. Bit of a decent summer in the transfer market, and let's see how we go. A few things weren't right behind the scenes, and it became apparent very quickly at the start of the season. Jonathan Walters and Stephen Schumacher weren't on the same page, perhaps we're even in the same frigging book. But it came to a head very quickly. Schumacher left in September. I know a bit about what actually happened via a player who will remain unnamed. So he was officially dismissed on the Monday morning. We lost 1-0 at Oxford on the Saturday, and it was an absolutely appalling performance. And I heard Schumacher's interview after the game, and I thought, that's weird. It just sounded, you just thought something's happened. And you just thought, well, maybe there's been a complete and utter row in the dressing room with the players, whatever. There had been a row in the dressing room, but the row was between Stephen Schumacher and Jonathan Walters. So what had happened, Schumacher had actually played Lyndon Gooch, who is a fullback, in a number 10. Mm-hmm. And he had 2 number 10s on the bench. Okay. So Walters went into the dressing room after the game, absolutely lost his shit at Schumacher, what you're playing at, sort of thing. Some players got involved in the row. They came to leave the ground. Schumacher went to get on the team coach, and Walters stopped him and said, "No, you can get a fucking taxi home, mate. You're sacked." And, God. So it was officially announced on the Monday morning. So it's like, here we go again. Stoke, same old, another manager. So this guy who nobody has ever heard of comes in. Transfer window's gone. He's got to work with what he's got, and you kind of hope that he can at least, make a few small improvements. We've been nothing but we've been rubbish. We've had the odd high point. I mean, I think it was either his second or third game. It was his third game actually, because he lost his first 2. We beat Portsmouth 6-1. Stoke City don't score 6 goals. It doesn't happen. Tom Cannon scored 4 goals that night. We don't have strikers scoring that sort of, which just actually highlights how shit Portsmouth are. But
they're pretty bad.
Yeah, we've been pretty much appalling since. Saturday. I mean, it was the place was on the verge of rioting when Ben Gibson equalised in the 98th minute. So we're not in a very good place at the minute. I could see. It wouldn't surprise me if we went down.
Oh wow!
It was just we have nothing about us at all that suggests that we're a team. We have no identity. We're a group of individuals. We've got a load of lone players in who are very talented. Lewis Kumas from Liverpool is an exceptional player. But he's at Stoke City. and he's surrounded by not very much, really.
Is that the son of Jason?
It is, son of Jason.
Oh,
yeah. He was a hell of a player, and his son is as well. His son is very highly thought of at Liverpool, and if I was Liverpool, I'd recall him in January. But there we go, send him somewhere else. But
I didn't realise it was as bad as it you might be expecting them to go down.
To be fair,
I didn't realise it was that bad. Or if that's just you being dramatic.
To be fair, it's actually worse than that. I'm trying to put a positive spin on things,
Nice one. Well, how have things been going at Alsager Town then, the club that you're heavily involved with?
Yeah, well,
should I ask?
Yeah, no, Alsager. I mean, I'll just let you know. I've resigned as vice chairman there.
Oh wow!
It's for personal reasons. I'm trying to spin a lot of plates at the moment, and I don't want them to go crash. But there we go. But also, so last season was great. It was the best season we've had in a long time. Okay, we only finished 12th in the end, but the reason we only finished 12th is we had an unbelievable run to the League Cup semi-finals, and we ended up with something like 6 or 7 games in hand, which if we'd actually got the results in those 6 or 7 games in hand, we'd have finished in the playoffs. But things sort of petered out after we played one of the Premier Division teams away in the League Cup semi, and we were 2-0 up inside 20 minutes. But we ended up losing 4-2. They pulled it back to 2 each early in the second half, and then they made it 3-2 from a controversial free kick with about 10 minutes left. So we basically threw the kitchen sink at it. I suppose it was in injury time. They were still winning 3-2. We hit the bar, had one cleared off the line, and then they broke away and scored a fourth. So
rough.
Yeah, it was a rough way to, but things petered out after that, and so we ended up finishing 12th. But it was still a great season, particularly given that we've probably been worse than Stoke for a few years. This season, the pre-season started with an absolute bombshell. The management team chose to leave to go to Winsford United. To be fair, they were completely honest about it. With their Winsford lads, and they wanted to go to manage their club, so they did. And to be fair, they're doing a great job at Winsford. The management team we brought in, we started the season like an absolute steam train. We won first 7 league games on the trot. It's never happened before. Top of the league. And yes, we've turned into Alsager Town once again. The management team left, telling us on the Monday evening that they'd lost their passion for the game. And lo and behold, they popped up at Northwich Victoria and taken 2 of the best players. The new manager, to be fair, I think is a good appointment. Managed Prestwich Hayes in the North West Counties Premier Division. Managed them. They had their budget pulled last season, but he stayed on, managed them, kept them up. And then he actually signed for us as a player because he's only 36.
Nice.
But obviously stepped up as manager. Had a terrible start. I think lost the first 4 games on the trot, but played Shawbury away on Saturday and beat them 5-2. So
nice.
Although we'd gone, I think, 6 games without a win before Saturday, but we're still 3rd in the table, and hopefully we can stay up there at the top end, and at least get a playoff place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't think it can get much worse, really. From the utter carnage of your management team basically lying to you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But these things happen. So, I mean, it's been a bit of a mixed bag, really, for all of us. And I think the next question I'm going to ask you is, you might have already covered it, but I'll just kind of open the floor so we can talk freely amongst ourselves now that we've got our kind of season reviews out of the way. But what's everyone's favourite moments of the season been so far? Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be from a game. It can be anything from something else that's happened within football, a fan protest, maybe anything, as long as it's football related, even if it's a personal thing.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think the protest is a good one to start. That's kind of something that's on my mind. So obviously the protest at my own club, but then you got the protests in Germany. I think that's got to be a highlight for me. All the protests in Germany, because they were there was talk about them getting rid of the 50+1.
Yeah, that's right.
And the protests across this year have been so successful to just absolutely quell any of that talk. There were, what was it, like tennis balls, you had remote control cars they were chucking on the pitch and driving around, all kind of stuff like that. Every week in Germany there'd be games delayed, games postponed, just absolute carnage from the fans. And to be honest, I wish we could take more of a leaf out of their book, because I mean, their fan protests are really something to behold. Also, the protests of Dortmund fans against arms manufacturer that was due to be sponsoring them as well.
Yeah, that's right. Rhine Metal or something like that.
Yeah. So I think the protests have been quite something this year, and I've really enjoyed watching all that, because anything fan protest related that just kind of fully disrupts the order there is, that's something that I like to see. So
it has been a really good year for fan action and fan protests as well, I think, which in fact I think it's probably been the most we've seen since the European Super League was being thrown about, so that's pretty significant as well.
I have a personal one from Norway, also on the protest side, because Tromsø, which is far up north, in the summer they have 24/7 daylight, so that they try to do a thing with a late kickoff at 10 o'clock against KFUM Oslo, and VAR protest dragged the game so long, so it actually was played over 2 days technically. Yeah, and that's a decent one. We had some really cool VAR protests here also. Rosenborg against Lillestrøm got stopped because of the fans threw fish cakes as part of a protest instead of tennis balls. It's a decent one, and we're sort of having the same problem sort of in my club. We managed to keep sort of the protest quite down, but we are actually in the process in Norway. If we're going to get rid of VHR in our league completely, and that's this year's last game for me, 8th of January. So wish me luck, boys.
Nice.
Good luck,
yeah,
mate.
No, definitely best of luck. I really hope that comes to us in Scotland soon as well, because it's, if you don't have the infrastructure for it and you need to adopt some kind of VAR light, it's never going to work. I mean, you've already got incompetent officials; it's just going to make it even worse,
Yeah, and here it hasn't worked at all. And to be honest, even though we don't have it in my league, this is a cancer for football here. It's full. It kills all the passion, and you don't understand half of the times why Edison goes as it does. And you can't use minutes on this. This is get rid of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you'll be hard pressed to find a football fan who's actually in support of VAR now, to be honest. So no, definitely a good one as well. Anti-VAR protests are always a good one. Of course, Sweden, I think, voted to get rid of it from their league, the first league to do so really set a precedent there.
And Sweden never had it at all, because they saw how it was implemented in Norway, where they basically tricked it into the media deal. So the clubs was basically said from the TV company, all right, we'll give you this much money from that to them. And everyone just signed except one club, and that's Lillestrøm, which has a lawyer as leader, and he said, up, you're trying to trick us to this. And how it was done here in Norway, it's a fucking scandal. So the Swedes were basically, we're not having it, like you did in Norway.
Nice. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Of course, they voted not to implement it. Had a lot on the fan protest side, a lot on the anti-VAR. Again, been a pretty good year for discussions around that, I think, which has been quite important.
A couple of things. I mean, it's not this season, but back end of last season, earlier this year, Alsager played Droylsden away, and always wanted to go to Droylsden's ground, Butcher's Arms. It's one of the best non-league grounds in the northwest. So when Dylan, my little lad, went with me. Now, one of Dylan's favourite players at Alsager was a lad called George West, And Westy, he started his career with Stockport County, got released, went into a non-league game, and he eventually rocked up at Alsager, and he was a great player for Alsager. Left the club when one of our managers departed some time ago, and he'd had a lengthy spell with Droylsden earlier in his career, and he ended up back at Droylsden. And sadly, at the start of last season, he sort of disappeared from the first team picture. He was scoring goals left, right, and centre for Droylsden. Then eventually the club made an announcement, and the reason for his disappearance was he'd been diagnosed with a really serious heart condition, and so it was touch and go whether he was going to play football again. And anyway, the day that Alsager went to Droylsden, and Droylsden, a very, very well supported club, there was nearly 700 there when we played there, which that's pretty decent in the Northwest Counties League. And prior to the game, we didn't know this until we got there. The club brought Westy out onto the pitch, and Dylan was and he came across to say hello to Dylan, because and that was an absolute highlight for me this year. The other highlight for me is the launch of the Football Heritage project with you guys. It's great. It's a continuation of some really, really positive work that's being done, and I'm delighted that we're still out there planting seeds.
That should have been number one. It is number one.
It's number one, really. I think that's a really nice personal one with Dylan and Westy. That's actually a really nice one, and I really like that as well. It's very personal and very touching as well, and it's always good when when obviously the fans have struck up such a relationship with the player that even he feels like he can come and say hello. That's a good one as well. But of course, I have to echo the second one, that the launch of this project has been absolutely magnificent, and I'm absolutely delighted that everyone that's here on this podcast and in the group chat has been able to join us, and everyone who's supported us, as well as the external contributors as well. So I was surprised that you didn't mention your book as well. Obviously, I thought that'd be one that you'd mentioned, the launch of the publication of a football book.
Yeah, that obviously been a personal highlight, and some people have been saying it's actually quite good. So that's nice.
That's all right, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was it's a couple of years hard work. I approaching the deadline for submission of the bloody manuscript, I came down with COVID, which screwed me up for a couple of weeks, to be honest. But I only missed my deadline by 24 hours, and they were okay with that. But it was, again, it's always great to get the thing in your hand once you've done the work towards it, and really positive response, which I'm really, really grateful for. I'm happy that Work and Play is out there and people can get their hands on it, and if people like it, I'm delighted.
Yeah, no, it was a great read, and you should be really proud of it, as well as tying it in with When the Circus Leaves Town as well. It goes hand in hand with that. So you should be delighted. And of course, am I allowed to say that your next book's on the way?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. There's another one in the pipeline. Actually, the manuscript is due in 369 days' time.
There you go.
So, I've got to get it done for December next year. Publication ahead of the 2026 World Cup. So,
nice one. Yeah. Look forward to that as well. Well, Matty's had to jump off just to head off to whatever he's doing next. So it's just the four of us that's left now. Chris, what's been your best moment?
In terms of, obviously, with Town, as we've discussed, good moments have been few and far between, so we'll leave that be. I think I've a bit of a weird one, but I've quite enjoyed San Marino's golden era that they've got now. Now they're going there. They're going on an unbeaten run.
That's a great one.
I've thoroughly enjoyed them coming from nowhere to all of a sudden being some sort of force against, at least against Liechtenstein anyway. Imagine what it's like being Liechtenstein, being San Marino being your bogey side. It'd be horrible. But everybody else worries about other big clubs, and they worry about facing San Marino on a monthly basis. But I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed TNS qualifying for Europe and playing in the group stages, and Lan and Shamrock Rovers, who were doing very well in Europe, to be honest with you. It's been interesting to see. I think the new format, I'm not hugely keen on it in the Champions League, but I think it's potentially helped out in the Conference League a bit. It probably made it even a bit more fun. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully Shamrock, I think they're on the verge of qualifying.
I think so,
I'd like to see them get through and qualify. And Borough really winning. I mean, they won 3-0 away at Clee last season. They drew 0-0. For those who, obviously, Clee and Grimsby Borough are both in the town. Clee's budget compared to Borough is ridiculous, really. They're a much bigger club. But we all find it quite amusing that although they look like they're going to go up this year, Clee, and fair play, they're the best side in the league, but they still can't score a league goal against Borough. I think we played them 6 times in the league now, and they haven't scored a single goal against us yet, which is quite amusing, to be honest with you. So, I mean, we play them again New Year's Day, so they'll probably put 5 past us now. I've said that, but it's quite amusing. I do find it quite amusing. You can always sense frustration in the supporters, the Clee support. They come every game, thinking they'll roll us over at any point, because they have a much bigger club with a huge squad. They don't even train in Clee anymore, apparently. They train in Doncaster. Because all the players come from out of Yorkshire whereas all the Borough lads are local lads. But they still can't score against us. We'll wait and see if that happens.
Do them in.
See what happens on New Year's Day.
Yeah, go on. Go on. I suppose for you guys, mainly, it will be for Chris and Dave. What was the Euros like following it again? Because I mean, despite the inevitable result, it must have been pretty decent. I watched some of it in Lisbon in the semi-final. I think that was England in the semi-final when they get taken to penalties.
The semis. I think the semis we scored. I think Ollie Watkins got the late winning against the Netherlands.
That's it.
Switzerland, we went to penalty. Look, the Euros was a funny one because, I mean, we got within 15 minutes of, potentially sneaking a win there. Once Cole Palmer equalised, we didn't deserve anything out. We got battered by Spain. And to be honest with you, it was a strange one because we were underwhelming throughout. It wasn't particularly enjoyable to watch. And yet we weren't that far away from ending up winning the trophy. It was a bit of a bizarre one, really. Like I've said to you on the previous podcast, I've made my peace with the fact that I don't think I'll ever see England win anything. So if we do, it's a bonus. And I mean, we've got to the 2 Euro finals, and we've been outplayed comfortably in both. I just can't see it. It's just, and then if it does happen, it's a bonus, like I say. Spain were by far the best team in the tournament and deserved to win the cup at the end of the day. Maybe 2026, but again, I'll be very surprised.
Same here. People, I think, have got when they look back at Italia '90. I think there's like rose tinted glasses there in some respect, because we were actually very underwhelming in Italia '90. And people look back now and, Gaza, this, that, and the other. And Gaza was great, and he provided, the highlights for me in Italia '90. I think clearly we were a better team. We didn't really sparkle that much. We didn't really perform that much, and we didn't in the Euros this year. And I was really underwhelmed. Don't get me wrong. I was really happy that we got as far as the final, obviously, but I had not one even with 15 minutes to go. I had absolutely no expectation that we would get anywhere near lifting that trophy. At not one point during the tournament did I think, you know what, I think this is our year. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's the condition of being an English football supporter or what, or whether it's just. Because I have to say I'm not as enamoured with international football as I used to be. I don't know if it's that, but no, there was just nothing there for me. I think Gareth Southgate, decent guy. I think he got lucky with the players that he had at his disposal because obviously with his involvement in the under-21 setup previously and whatnot, he's seen kids come through and he's had relationship with them. I'll be interested to see what Thomas Tuchel can do with this group of players.
Yeah, me too, actually.
It's going to be horrible. The press are going to be horrible for him because the very first time that he loses a game or draws with Liechtenstein, he's going to be calling, for him to be deported back to Germany or whatever these fucking stupid publications do.
That's a lot of shit, isn't it?
Yeah. But as a group of players, you look at them and think, he is somebody that could potentially do something with them. But I'm bothered. No, I'm more interested in football.
Okay, can I ask you, Dave and Chris, as sort of as Englishmen, because it strikes me that when Thomas Tuchel was employed, as you said, and I mean, I lived in England myself, so I've seen this in the papers and how a foreigner can make such a fuss sometimes on English institutions. And if you look like on the Premier League, it's not sort of my main league, but I mean, you don't got much English managers, really, do you? In the top flight, and is what sort of the difference on because of its 3 lines? I mean, you had Sven-Göran Eriksson, you had the Italian guy with the glasses. I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah, Fabio Capello.
Yeah.
Actually, I liked him.
But I remember it also like maybe it's just me remembering this wrong, but it was a bit like, oh, we're so shite, we have to get the foreigner to help us, and in an odd way. But why is Tuchel so much more controversial than like Eriksson or Capello? Or is it because it's German?
I think it's maybe been a big change just in the wider sphere of things, maybe.
Yeah.
I was just going to say it's forward xenophobia. Oh, 2 World Wars, 1 World Cup, and all that crap.
It's an easy paper sell, an easy clip. Anybody with with 2 brain cells rubbed together will see that there probably isn't an English candidate out there at the moment that's. I mean, Tuchel's only signed an 18-month contract till after the 2026 World Cup, which leads me to believe that it could only be a short-term thing. Maybe that's his personal choice anyway. I know Lee Carsley says he wouldn't mind the job in the future. Maybe further down the line he'll come back into it or whatever. But in terms of it's just the way the media is nowadays. It's embarrassing to be honest with you.
The media, right? Okay, you mentioned 2 names there, Tuchel and Lee Carsley. Tuchel's German, Carsley's Irish. I mean, this is the lens that these idiots that run the newspapers will look at it through.
But it's sort of maybe I look on it different as sort of. But English football is quite the big thing in Norway, and England has been sort of one of the always on TV here, and it strikes me that this version of England is more continental than what it used to be. It sort of, don't get me wrong, but if you put other jerseys on that team and look on the true data, I don't think it's such a big difference anymore on the playing style compared to like maybe not Germany now, but a few years ago. And it sort of strikes me that I guess this is a bit of an identity thing for you guys also in a way.
Yeah, I was going to say what we have now is compared to say 10 years ago, for example. There's a lot more sort of English lads playing in the top leagues abroad, starting to venture out, and obviously your Bellinghams and Kanes out there, but there's sort of Bino Gittins there's, if you look around the leagues, there's a fair few. It's starting to go that way, and I think that's actually benefiting the national team. It's benefiting us in the long run, I think, stylistically. So the nationality, the coach is neither here nor there anyway. It's a global game now. So you want the best person for the job. If Tuchel's the best person for the job for the next 18 months,
that's
fine by me.
Exactly the point, Chris. I mean, you look at it since the early 90s and the formation of the Premier League, the influence of the continent has gotten greater and greater and greater. So, class of 92, for example, who did they look up to the most? Eric Cantona, one of the most successful managers in recent, who had a huge influence over English players was Jose Mourinho.
This is true.
And the point you've just made, Chris, at a point in time, you come to appoint somebody for a job. It doesn't matter, whether it's, managing, a football team or whether it's managing some spreadsheets. You look for the best person for the job. And if from the candidates, potential candidates they looked at, Thomas Tuchel's the man, the best man available, then you appoint them. But obviously, unfortunately, football is a little bit different in that it's played out in the public domain across the media, and there are some quite strange people that have headlines to generate and clicks to get. So they'll go for the lowest common denominator, which unfortunately in this country tends to be bloody xenophobia.
I think you've hit the nail on the head with that. I think it's easy clicks, it's easy engagement, it's easy likes, an easy sell, as Chris said, but they know that they'll get that when they go down the xenophobia route. Do you know what I mean? But I think I agree with you, Dave. I think Tuchel can really get something out of this group of players, but for a fact that the second he makes a mistake, whether it's in selection or draws a match, then the media are going to be right on his back. Do you know what I mean? And that's just sadly how it's going to be with the current not just football, but also the current political landscape in England as well. And I think that's kind of been a part of it. There's been a bit of a shift in ideology, but I think it's the fact that he's German that's really sticking in a lot of people's craws at the moment. Just before we finish things up, the last question that I had to ask you guys was what you're looking forward to the most in 2025 for your football. Christian, we'll start with you.
I have two things to try to get my club to have to vote no against VHR in Norway and secure our position in the league for another year.
Nice, simple, easy ones as well, and hopefully those are the ones that you'll get. Especially looking forward to seeing Moss's campaign next season. I really hope you guys end up making it go up. But as you said, there is that second season curse, so we'll wait to see what happens. Chris, what about yourself?
A couple of things. I mean, firstly, hoping to get sort of back on track health-wise, which will help me to contribute a little bit more to the project, which I haven't been able to do quite as much yet. Consistently, sort of, with my writing for other sites, for all the sites I like, really. That's my sort of off the pitch. On the pitch, I'm quite looking forward to. I mean, we're on 31 points. They usually say 48 to 50 keeps you up. I'm quite looking forward to just a few months of not stressing about whether Town are going to get relegated or not, to be honest with you. Just enjoying the Saturday afternoons. If we win, lose or draw, then so be it. But I mean, we should be all right now. We should be in a position where we'll manage to scramble them points, even if we go on an absolute shocker. Yeah. So I just enjoy the football rather than watching it from behind the sofa, to be honest with you. That'll be nice.
Yeah, draw, lose or draw, you'll be there, mate. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what matters. Do you know what I mean? So But first and foremost, obviously your health comes first. So hopefully you can get back to the health that you want to be in, and just get back to watching football and enjoying the football, as you mentioned there as well. So that should be the main thing. Finally, Dave, what about yourself?
Priorities. Well, my priority, or main priority, is Dylan. Making sure Dylan's happy, enjoying his stuff. He loves his football, so that'll be a big part of it. Footballing related priorities. It would be lovely if Alsager Town could stay at the top end of the Northwest Counties League Division 1 South, and be in with a shout at the end of the season. I would take fourth from bottom for Stoke right now. If we finish fourth from bottom of the Championship, I'll be as happy as a pig in shit. And that's a positive thing, by the way, because obviously if we go down, I will join the riot at the end of the season.
That would be a disaster if Stoke went down. I would say that's unthinkable.
It would be a disaster. I'll tell you what, it'd be even worse, and it is a possibility, is us going down and Port Vale and Crewe Alexandra both going fucking up. The three of us in the same division next season would just be carnage. And I can guarantee you Stoke would not take a single point from any of those fucking games either.
It would be a very, very good laugh.
It would be hilarious, actually, although I'd probably have a breakdown of some description. And my next priority, obviously, is to get the next book done, and then think about the next one, because there will be a next one.
You don't stop, do you? And I mean, I think that's the main thing, is that this year has been incredible for so many reasons, but there's so much to look forward to next year, football wise and off the pitch as well, for all of us. And I'm really excited as well. Obviously, 4 months ago we set up, and it's been class. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just been brilliant being able to put out the stuff there that we want to write about, still getting episodes out there, speaking to so many people, and just really kind of spreading the message about what we're doing as well. And there's loads more to come next year. So to all our listeners who've tuned in this year, thank you very much for supporting the podcast, continuing to share our work, engaging with us, just everyone who's really helped us since we set up back in August. As I said, there will be quite a bit for us to announce. Probably we'll do that in the new year, so do keep an eye out for that on our socials. Thank you, gents, for joining me tonight. Thank you very much for continuing to be a part of this project. It's been absolutely magnificent. And once again, thank you to all of our listeners. We'll see you all again in the new year. This will be our last podcast, probably until about February. We'll announce when our new episodes are going to be coming out. I need to take a break. That's what I'm going to be doing over the Christmas holidays. So if you need us, just reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to accommodate anyone who wants to write for us or for a chat in the podcast. But for now, Dave, say goodbye.
See you, chaps. Great to chat, and thanks for everybody for engaging in the nonsense and madness that we do.
Spot on. Chris, say goodbye.
See you later, everyone. Have a good Christmas, New Year, and look forward to getting going again next year.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Christian, say goodbye.
Goodbye, and have a nice Christmas, and take it easy, people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Take it easy. Hope you have a wonderful Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you all again in 2025. Goodbye.